Welcome everyone to another fun live stream where of course previously OBS Pulse Audio failed. Recurring theme here, I have the feeling each time I start OBS Pulse Audio Daemon kills. Anyway, so today's fun episode here with our proprietary legacy exact scan Objective-C code here, so our rare glimpse into our secret source here. Anyway, so why is this Objective-C and not Swift? Because this is a 15-year-old code. And I wanted to shortly outline everything wrong with Apple's release management style and peak bugs. You heard this before from me, peak bugs and stuff. And so not only stuff that I use in Safari, Finder, iMovie and stuff really currently not working as reliably as it should be. So all you probably hope is okay. So case in point, so this is our source code. And I would have adapted for Catalina earlier, but because so many problems with beta software, I'm not even wasting our time here. And even though some week ago here live on YouTube, I tried to install it, even the installation didn't work so much to that. It even destroyed my whole Mojave installation with 5-fold disk encryption, so whatever went wrong there. Of course, in the meantime, I got it running, installed it, of course, again. But so why is software crashing? So of course, you see in the new 64-bit, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Of course, we are not amateurs here, we are professionals. Our exact scan software is 64-bit since a decade already, because why not? We are not like other AAA companies like Adobe or Fujitsu who didn't get their 32-bit stuff act together for 64-bit. Anyway, so 64-bit not the problem. We certainly had fine SJ Octane, Spark 64, PowerPC 64, certainly all the fun stuff. So 64-bit not a problem for us, not even a big deal whatsoever. But also deprecation. So this is here a live crash. Also fun fact, we sent a Catalina compatible version to Apple to their mighty App Store review last night. Of course, it was rejected. So you could actually, when they already take 30%, not a great fan of that they take 30% of our hard-earned work and revenue and that we need for support and development. But at least what we do now, at least a little bit, is if they tested already anyway, let's misuse them a little bit like quality assurance. And lo and behold, they really found a bug here. And this bug is, so we tested, of course, we made changes, quite some actually for the stupid Catalina stuff. And lo and behold, Apple really found a bug here with file processing. And this is such a hilarious like bug or anti-bug that I wanted to share this here, as you see here live view on Xcode. And so the issue is, as so often, deprecated functions and stuff previously working. So Apple is also not only are they deprecating and removing stuff, which I'm not a great fan of, because so this was working with 10.0, 10.3 and stuff, and CPUs get larger, faster, 16 threads, 64 gig of memory, certainly 8 gig or something are standard. So what was once working on a PowerPC whatsoever is no longer not good enough. Why do they need to remove all the stuff? And I had the impression, and also the stuff is getting larger and larger, right? So they remove 32-bit, yet they deprecate stuff, remove stuff, and of course preventing applications from starting previous applications that you and I and whoever paid money for, right? And of course Windows, Microsoft is not doing it like that as much. They are a little bit more backward compatible. But I really start to really hate this, especially in the Apple world. And we have what software we are coding. So I'm talking about our exact scan and UIKit. By the way, fun fact, if you have people using document scanners, so that is scan software, OCR software, also PDF recompression, some of our commercial stuff here. And fun fact, due to this deprecation and planned obsolescence, many popular scanners do not work on Catalina. So if you have any of your friends and family, Fujitsu, ScanSnap and other Canon DR scanners that they want to continue using, they could use our exact scan for that, especially after we fixed that bug, which, by the way, this bug is already fixed. I only wanted to show this to you. And this is also, why do I show this to you? So not only, so they remove 32-bit, stuff gets larger and larger, yet they deprecate like totally normal function like NS magnification, color picker here and there, or even some other, do I have here not on the screen, but like file name, like NSString file name or NSURL. So a lot of stuff, even if you open the documentation, there is a lot of stuff deprecated even already in 10.6, but it's still there. Anyway, and yet, so they add so much graphic artwork and videos like tutorials getting started. So they blow up the OS, which the base OS is now 8 GB compressed to download, I think. And yet they remove totally fine deprecated functions. And this is also hilarious. So this code was working for a decade. So we started to write ExactScan in 2005 or 2004. Initially, it even was an example program. We actually sold drivers. I said this before. Initially, ExactScan version 1 was a free example program because all the scan software to use our driver or train driver, there were not so many applications. So we basically gave a sample example ExactScan application for free just for people to save files with our driver for those document scanners. And I only wanted to point out this is a very good example for stuff intentionally broken for not so many good reasons. And so this is, by the way, not a live view. I wanted to VNC into the screen sharing. Screen sharing on macOS is VNC, but I didn't find Linux VNC software, if you know one. So Apple has here some Apple-specific security authentication stuff. So that didn't authenticate. So I made a screenshot, so unfortunately not a live view. And this is also for you. This is also how Xcode looks here. Not the greatest fan of Xcode, but that's probably for another video. So this is in our thread, our background thread for opening a file. ExactScan Pro can process files as if they came from a scanner. So Apple found if they opened a file, we actually, honestly, we didn't test this before sending it to Apple. We have a test suite for all kinds of stuff, but not all the UI stuff is automated. Anyway, Apple noticed. Apple was so clever to drop a file on ExactScan, it crashed. Thank you for that, Apple. Anyway, so how did it crash? It crashed here, as you see here, also in this debugging view here, which, fun fact, is probably slightly here. We can actually video capture, move that somewhere like there. And look at it again. So it's not entirely sharp, but that's not the point. And so this crashed in so it's crashed in exception preprocess, something Objective-C exception throw. So this is an intentional exception in this window. Terminate app do something. Unfortunately, it's a screenshot. Internal inconsistency exception. So they intentionally throw an exception on the board here, and they have not done this previously, right? And then when you look, why do they do this? So they don't like, so they probably never like to call this in the background thread. So this code, shame on us, might have only worked accidentally, but I would argue why break it unnecessarily, right? So there you see when all the users say this is crashing and shit developers, and yeah, shame on us, shit developers. But I would also argue they should not break intentional APIs and applications like that. So they could do this for new functions if they don't want this thread safety, or it's not thread safety and you shouldn't do this, okay, fine, but then only do this in new functions, in my opinion. So you update your OS, you run your app, and then it crashes instantly. Also, we had other things like this, so this is only the 10th thing we adapt and fix. But I would argue, do this, okay, fine, do assertions and exceptions in new code, but not add it retrospectively to old code, because as you see, this breaks wonderfully fine working programs. And so what does this mean to us? So Apple now intentionally throws an exception, aborts the program, and so we now need to, we have already changed the code. So what we have done, we have an own progress notification. So this is our internal helper function for a progress window. Here for the progress indicators, a colleague of mine has done this over 12 years ago or something whatsoever. So now I changed this to have a progress class here of ours, have a set double value of doing this internally, because so it is running in a background thread, and we certainly want to keep it like this for multi-threading reason. And this is also why I make this video, to discuss at a broader scale. Do we really want in 2019 we have more multi-threaded hyper multi-core, like 16, 32. You have seen Linus Tech Tips, 64, 128 cores, threads in a machine if you take the latest and greatest Xeon anyway, or EPIC AMD. And then big companies like AAA companies, and that is also why I'm losing my face and getting depressive with this shit. So the companies make it intentionally hard to use it multi-threaded, right? Why is this UI stuff not thread safe in 2019? What kindergarten is it, right? Could not even expect this, right? Why did we not notice? Well, first of all, it worked, and second of all, I actually thought some of this Cocoa stuff was thread safe. So thread safety summary. This appendix describes the high-level thread safety of some key frameworks in OS X, and by the way, they have not adopted this. Maybe it's old documentation, but it's macOS now, but whatever, iOS. So guidelines, immutable objects in general are thread safe. Once you create them, you can safely pass them these objects and to and from threads, and many objects deemed thread unsafety as only unsafe to use from multiple threads and so on. The main thread of application is responsive finding events. Also, the application kit continues to work if other threads are involved in the event path. Yada yada. There is a misconception that it's also in Apple documentation, right? So even Apple writes already there is a misconception here. So there is a misconception, and yet in 2019 you intentionally make it even harder and break applications with thread safety. So there is a misconception, Apple writes themselves, that the foundation framework is thread safe and the application kit framework is not. Unfortunately, this is a gross generalization and somewhat misleading. Yes, thank you very much for that. Each framework has areas that are thread safe and areas that are not thread safe. And also this didn't change probably much with Swift. 2019, leading operating systems like AAA, what users most love, within the age of hyper multi-threading, multi-core and everything, we have system foundation frameworks that are some thread safe and some are not thread safe. In my opinion, this is hilarious. Whereas even I need, so yeah, that is what we have that here for. And also then I thought, let's check this UIKit. You have probably heard this UIKit stuff of previous iPhone, later iOS, and now also iPad and Watch and tvOS, fun stuff. So this is also not, by the way, so UIKit and GCD thread safety. Many of the posts say that US is totally not thread safe. No, on Apple's documentation for GCD, we can read that the drawing, it's a drawing that's not thread safe. So would it okay something? Note that for the most part UI classes should be used only from an application's main thread. So yeah, even an iPhone, iPad have 4, 8 cores and threads and stuff, and even there, this stuff is not thread safe. It's hilarious. 2019, you can't make this stuff up. And although this might be slightly older, but it doesn't matter. I didn't want to 6 years. Okay, fine, whatever. So fine, this is slightly older. I didn't actually paying attention to safe class design. But maybe even the latest, let's actually grab here the latest documentation, iOS 2+. I hope this is still at least listed, tvOS and Mac Catalyst. So where is here thread? Should have actually used UI classes only from your app's main thread. So that apparently didn't change in 5 years or 10 years or a decade. Main thread or main dispatch queue, unless otherwise indicated. The restriction particularly applies to classes derived from UI responder or that involve manipulating your app's user interface in any way. So yeah, so we overread this a little bit also to our rescue or to our defense. Our code base is like vintage. It's, you could say, so the code base started in 2004 or even maybe something of that sort, 2003 maybe. It is 15 years old, so although we are a non-unsuccessful, not one-man company, old vintage code base, and we're certainly not going to rewrite this here for no good reason. And initially, actually, to our defense, ExactScan initially didn't use threads much because when we started, it was PowerPC G5, so yeah, 2 cores. And only over time did we use more threads. We did more background processing of image data, of scan data, of files. You see this is reading files in a background thread for performance and snappiness and responsiveness. And we're not doing much here, right? So we are only updating the progress, and that accidentally worked so far. But there you also see what we need to do, or what I've done now is I dispatched this to the main thread. I changed this. I wish it would be VNC. The one thing that is worse than live streaming from Pulse Audio that constantly fails here is live streaming from macOS. That is even, yeah, totally can't even audio capture there, macOS, whatever. I could HDMI capture, but yeah, whatever. So it doesn't really matter. This probably illustrates enough. What I've changed, is that this progress indicator anyway gets an helper. And helper function, I could open code this all over the place, but that's of course not good style, so better encapsulate this to avoid this problem once and for all. But you see that is a problem, right? Everywhere where you use multi-threading and background threads, which certainly you want all over the place for performance on multi-core, multi-threading and UI snappiness and everything. So each time you want to update something on the UI, you can't even, as here, case in point, live crashed here a minute, half an hour ago, or last night at Apple. You can't just easily, not even a freaking progress indicator, right? We have not done more than progress. Our progress window gets the progress indicator thing there, sets the double value. This is an Apple function, so this is on NS progress indicator, whatever that is there. Set double value, which then animates, there's this progress bar thing, and we call here display. Probably, maybe this didn't really update or something. That's maybe me or someone else has done here some display call, just maybe someone noticed that didn't refresh on the screen, so force a display here. And this is hilarious, right? So we're not talking about unsuccessful one-man stuff like we do here. We talk here about major leading UI stuff, who the leader of snappiness and innovation, and you can't even update the progress bar in a background thread. It's hilarious. So you dispatch this. There's a macOS function. What we usually do is this, I wish I could show you this live in the code, but I can't. NS run background thread. There is some method for that. You can dispatch on any object. You can use as in queues, but we usually anyway, you run selector on whatsoever. You get the idea, whatever the start background set here. Here, perform selector, not this, so perform selector on main thread. Here, perform selector on main thread, that is what we often use, wait until done false or no or whatever. And so yeah, I only wanted to, with this YouTube channel here, get some more professional discussion. Should this be how it should be done in 2019? Should this stuff, and there you see bugs, right? Should this not be from the major leading operating system vendor? That stuff is a little bit less fragile, less breaking, more thread safe. And actually I thought I remembered that if you use threading, at least, so how long do we do this? But you can't remember all of the stuff. I thought I remember from a decade ago reading that if you initiate anything threading related whatsoever, this parts of UIKit Cocoa switches to thread safe. But yeah, this is, so my opinion, really sad, unnecessary bugs. And so there you see why our apps buggy, just because of this. You program something, it works, and then even a year later, so either, well, we didn't have any problems with this, right? It could randomly crash, but it didn't for us. And now it force exception aborts asserts here in Apple's code. Really not cool. And we had a couple of more things. We had some object release stuff where some old-fashioned, what is it, new and init and is it retain? Probably retain and release stuff. Double free now with the new frameworks. Some other. Also, we have some NS alert dialogues that I need to still debug why that is crashing. So in some cases, maybe this is also spinning from a background thread, maybe also intentionally crashing, although the stack trace didn't look like an exception. Anyway, so there you have it. Why does stuff crash in 2019? In my opinion, unnecessarily so. And Leave me in the comments below what you think. Do you agree that stuff in 2019 and this day and age and multi-cores doesn't need to be thread safe, or is it really lazy from vendors? Certainly also .NET and Windows people will tell me, yeah, this is such garbage. In .NET everything is amazing. But yeah, that's it for this live stream. I hope you learned something. Certainly that like a lot of stuff is not thread safe in macOS, and I'm slightly wondering if I'm not the most thrilled to use Swift, because I want more portable code, and the more this is why we have done new code. I've leaked already a little bit. We have our own UI stuff in Lua that is amazing for Windows and Linux, or theoretically also tested on Mac and iOS, just that we don't use it for production for this native UI look reasons. But I'm so tired of this buffer under and overflow, like out of bounds access, and the thread safety stuff, that in my opinion this is not how we should be doing software development. And yes, it is Objective-C, although we mix it with C++, so we mostly use Objective-C++. A lot of all the image processing is actually based on Exact Image, which is open source. There from us, there are previous videos and website. You can run the base there. But as I said in previous videos, we have a lot of image processing that is closed source here at us, that is specific to document scanning and all the other OCR and fun stuff. But can't open source anything. Nobody wants to pay us for that. Previous videos, nobody wants to pay for open source. But yeah, some of that is not amazing. And the reason we are not really switching to Swift is portability. We rather would use something more portable, like make our own cross-platform UI stuff, because I'm certainly not going to continue to write platform-specific stuff for Apple and for Windows and for Linux. That certainly makes totally no sense, and why Java and .NET and stuff was invented. Anyway, hope you learned something, hope that helps you in one way or another, and certainly looking forward to your feedback, what you think to this kind of stuff. Now I need to get back, also have a conference call sometime soon, actually in 20 minutes, but also need to get some more bugs hunted and fixed and new releases sent to Apple to their amazing App Store review and our quality assurance, finding the best of their own bugs. And then we also have quite some other stuff with Linux and stuff to do and to come, and open source. Still have to repatch the Linux kernel and OBS stuff. My amazing hotkey stuff doesn't work anymore because OBS update. So yeah, tons of fun stuff to come. Hope you learned something, and don't forget to leave in the comments below what you think about thread safety and programming. And you probably use Swift and .NET, but leave me in the comments below. Also, I don't really think this should differ in Swift, right? As far as I know, this is mostly using the same foundation stuff. So if it's not thread safety in general, it certainly isn't thread safety with Swift. So yeah, pretty annoying in my opinion.